Hello, Rajesh sir. It's a 3-2, sir.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining today's virtual conference. My name is Karthik, and I'm your host for today. Dun& Bradstreet India, in association with Google Cloud and Biotechnologies, is glad to present this virtual conference on the pertinent topic data pertinent data warehouse modernization to meet business demands. The entire series will host the thoughts of renowned thought leaders of the industry on importance of data warehouse. We encourage you to ask more questions in the session. We request you to please type in your queries in the question section. These will be taken up in the Q&A session after the panel discussion. You can use the chat section for sharing your views too. A couple of tips here. We want to know you more. Hence, please mention your name and company name when you post your question. You can also mention the person you're directing the question to. This session is not only about the discussion. You have a chance to win exciting Zozo Day e-vouchers by participating in an engaging quiz that we have lined up for you today. So please stay tuned. Now, let's take a quick look at the flow of today's session. Please refer to the agenda displayed on your screen right now. A promising agenda with an eminent lineup of speakers. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome and thank everyone for being a part of this virtual conference today. With this, let's kickstart with the opening speaker of the day. I would now like to invite Mr. Rakesh Mohandas, Customer Engineer, Analytics, Google Cloud, to share his views. Welcome, sir.
Hey, thanks. This is Rakesh. Yeah, so what I'll do is I will just share my screen now. And this is what we planned for today. Before we get into 20 minutes of session on Google and the data warehouse modernization solution that we have. This is the agenda that we plan today. Some of the challenges, because eventually whatever data warehouse we are talking, is going to be consumed by analysts, right, or data scientists to in order to create certain use case for the business, right? So what we thought is looking at that perspective, we'll try to have this entire session specific on the challenges the consumers face, the consumers of intelligence that's stored within a data warehouse. What are the challenges they face? And what are the components that they require in this new age of smart analytics, right? Data warehouse. We'll also talk about what are the different data warehouse solutions that we have within Google, which helps to address that, and some of the customer references and industry comparison. That how do we fare with other industry, right? So if you see from a analyst and data science practice, these are some of the challenges that they face, right? So one of the things we've heard a lot of customers talking about is whatever data warehouse I use today, whenever I want to run any specific query, I need to completely depend on the admin, right? To basically scale it up, scale the RAM, scale the storage, and so on, right? So they are looking at something where admin activity is kind of reduced and kind of focus more on the analysis part, right? The second is the data production, right? So most of this data, which is at rest, which is in motion, and even the analysis, creation of cubes and so on, we would like to have the data being protected. Now, the data, when we say about protection, it's not just having the data on the cloud, but it's also protecting when the data is actually streaming through, right? Even when we are consuming some of the data, especially the PI information, we have heard a lot of people talking about all this PI information needs to be redacted. My end user should not see that information, right? As part of my analysis. That's another thing which we have heard a lot of customers talking about. The other area, which is, which has been there for a long time, but has picked up a lot of speed, is getting insights of the data, right? Now, insights could be divided into multiple ways. One could be insights about what my business is, what has happened, right? But it also means that I also want to know, because I have stored a lot of information. I want to see, using that information, can I actually kind of predict with certain probability what is going to happen in the future, right? So that's where your AI ML will also come into place. And we heard a lot of customers saying that today AI ML is getting the data out of the warehouse, right? So any data warehouse modernization solution which the teams are looking at is something where AI ML happens within the data warehouse, right? That's a key requirement we have heard a lot of people talking about, right? The other one is, more than all this, the information needs to come to the warehouse, right? And we have seen a lot of customers saying that bringing the data from multiple different systems itself is a big task, right? How do you get all this information from multiple different places, maybe on-premise data warehouse, some of them might be in multiple cloud service providers and applications. How do you bring all this data in? Not just as a batch, but also as a real time, right? Doing a streaming inserts into the data warehouse, right? So this is another requirement we have heard. And then finally, once we build this intelligence, can I infuse this intelligence, right? Because infusing intelligence happens multiple places. Like, for example, it could be a BI user, right, who wants to basically create reports, ad hoc dashboards, or do a what-if analysis. They want to use this intelligence, right? That's one. Second could be the customer themselves want to use this intelligence. They want to ask, okay, what are the product recommendations that you can do with me, right? So, for example, we are working with one of the retailers where they're asking certain questions to the system saying that these are the products I would like the system to recommend. And they're talking directly to your warehouse, right, behind the scenes. Or it could be like spreadsheet, right? So I want to do my pivoting or cross tab and so on. That's another way of consuming intelligence, and the data warehouse should support those kind of applications. And finally, today we don't have one cloud vendor. Google is not just one cloud vendor, right? So you have list of cloud vendors. The same system should be able to connect to any of the cloud vendors, right? So it could be the data which is storing in S3 bucket. It could be data in other systems, right? Still, it should be able to do a federated query without bringing the data from the cloud provider to the other provider, right? So these are few, as we have heard. And what does it mean in a simple, cloud language? It means the first one was more on no ops. I don't want any admin activity to be done when I'm running any specific query and so on. What does it mean? It's nothing but the serverless warehouse requirement, right? The second one is we need to have a data governance and security practice inbuilt into the system, which basically identifies whether people are going through those practices, right? So this could be as simple as a row level security. It could be a column level security. It could be a table level security within the warehouse, or it could be the data, PII data. The system should be automatically able to identify that there is a PAN card detail in the data. Let me redact that information and keep it, right? So that any analyst, when they are using it, they should not be able to see individual PAN numbers, but still be able to do all those activities what usually the analysts do, like joins, running their SQL queries, and so on, right? The other one which we spoke about is in data warehouse modeling. That means if you want to build models within the warehouse, yes, there are systems which has the capability to do within the warehouse, rather than taking the data out of the warehouse, running your Jupyter notebook and so on, and then push back the results. Right. The problem of duplication of data is kind of avoided in those kind of scenarios. The other one is on batch and real-time ingest. If you want to do a good analysis, you need to have data coming into your warehouse. That could be batch and real-time. So in a simple cloud language, it means getting data as quick as possible into your warehouse for making real-time decisions. The other one is democratizing access to analytics, right? So today, people might not just want to drag and drop and create reports. They might want to even ask questions to the data warehouse, saying that, like, say, for example, I've seen salesperson saying that, for me, every time I want to create a report, I speak to an analyst. But what if I give a opportunity for them to ask questions on a simple, chat interface where they can say that, okay, which product is doing well in my territory, and the system can give a response as a simple chart or simple, a report to the end user, or simple tabulation as for the end user, right? So that's another thing, because today everybody is a consumer of all this analytics, and they need those intelligence, right? The last one is on the multi-cloud data analytics, and this is the strategy we have seen across. And frankly speaking, we don't we ensure that customers who invest in any other multi-cloud vendors will be able to access the data and run the analytics based on that, right? So this is a vision, and it's a vision for Google to ensure that this multi-cloud data analytics is something which we are looking at. Now, looking at this might be different systems which might be thinking of, but actually it is not, right? So whatever we spoke, within Google, we have just one solution, one a petabyte data warehouse that actually addresses each of them, right? There'll be serverless, there'll be data governance, and so on. So let's drill deep and try to see what does it mean by each one of them. Like, for example, the serverless data warehouse. For a simple user, it would look something like this, right? So if you are an end user for any kind of data warehouse today, you might be spending less time on analysis, right, and more time doing a lot of admin activity, right? So, for example, you might try to see, okay, how many queries did we run, right, and how many users are running the queries, right? How much bytes was consumed? How much RAM do we have, right? These were a typical kind of requirement, and majority of the time you spend on that part, right? And we have seen, this is some of the statistics that we have got, is 15% is the time that you use for insight analytics, and you restrict the users to use your data. That's one thing. But with BigQuery, you're actually moving away from that, right? So with BigQuery, you are spending more time on analysis and less time on admin activity. It doesn't mean we don't do admin activity. It's all done using automated scripts. For an end user, you will not see that, right? You will only do your analysis and focus everything on analysis. Behind the scenes, the system is automatically spinning up the compute cluster or adding more storage and so on. So that's the advantage that you get with modernizing your data warehouse. Second one is data governance and security control. Most of our data is encrypted. That means when the data is moving from some of your applications to BigQuery, or when the data is moving as a batch process to BigQuery, all these things are encrypted, right? So that's on the data encryption when it's in motion. We also have something called as a data catalog system, which understands what kind of data is sitting where. So you don't need to go through each assets of yours in order to identify where my data is. It also encrypts the data when it's at rest and transit. That's another advantage that you get, so that none of the data is kind of decryptable from the end user perspective, right? We also have DLP inbuilt into the system, which ensures that if there's any PII information, including images, like for example, somebody uploads an image of PAN card or Aadhaar, the system is able to identify and redact those information. So if you have the data in data warehouse, it automatically scans all the tables and all the attributes of the columns, and it knows which column has those information and redacts those information, right? And still, you can do all your analysis. You can merge the data, you can join the data, and so on. It is also we can also share the data sets between different projects or users so that they can consume this very securely, right? And maintaining the entire history of who shared what access and privileges they have, and so on. So all this is part of the existing system, right? The third one is in data warehouse modeling. So instead of you writing a lot of scripts, you can just write simple SQL command and develop your models. You can evaluate how good the models is, and then expose these models into an external application, right? By writing simple line of query. The advantage that you get here is you're not taking the data outside the warehouse, but you're running all your models and all the modeling activities within the warehouse. So no duplication of data, and it's much faster as compared to rest of the modeling exercise that you would have done outside, right? If I just go back, batch and real-time images, this is something which we have heard a lot of customers asking for. There's a lot of ways we can do data ingestion within BigQuery, right? Here we have mentioned only 4, but there are many ways. You can get the data as a batch from any of your existing system into BigQuery, and you can schedule the job, saying that I want to run this at a specific time frame and so on, right? So that's one way you can bring the data into the data warehouse. The second one is the streaming ingestion. So, for example, if you're using existing applications like Google Analytics or any other applications, and you want to stream ingest, we have solutions which basically helps you to ingest the streaming data into BigQuery, right? The third one is the query materialization, right? So, for example, if you have certain BI requirement where you don't want to query the entire data, but you want to materialize your data set in order to run specific queries, you can also do that. We also have data transfer service. That means you have data with Adobe, DoubleClick, or any other solution stack or Salesforce, and you want to transfer the data, or even S3 bucket or Redshift, right? Or Azure or any other solution. We can actually transfer the data from those applications into our system, right? So that could be the fourth way. And we also have an ETL or a CDC mechanism in order to bring the data into the warehouse. So what does it mean for end user? It means we are agnostic to any data source, bring the data, put it into the BigQuery, right? Which would be your centralized warehouse, and then you can use external applications like, for example, Google Sheets. You can access all the data, petabyte data within Google Sheets, which you might not be doing today, but yes, it is possible to run petabyte query within Google Sheets by having that integration, right? Or else you can actually build models in Jupyter Notebook by running all those models directly into the warehouse. There's another way you can do that. Or else you can use BI tools, which is inbuilt into BigQuery, which is called as Google Data Studio, which is free of cost, and you can build your own dashboards, your own journeys, right? And then embed those journeys into your applications, right? Or else you can use other applications like Tableau, ClickView, and so on. So it means you can build any applications and you can expose that, right? So any users, if they're asking certain set of reports, you can build within the same system. And these are all real-time insights, right? So if you ingest the data in real time, your business intelligence reports will also be in real time. And you can provide this intelligence across different users within the organization. Right. The other one is on democratizing access to analytics. So today, what we spoke about is also an old way of doing it, right? So it's more like you drag, drop, and create your own reports and so on. But there's a different way of democratizing insights to users. It could be as simple. So we have recently introduced something called as data Q&A, where users can ask questions to the data warehouse, right? In simple, plain language. The system understands those questions which is asked by a specific user, depending on the level of access they have. If I am only accessing a specific region, if I'm a salesperson for a specific region, then it will bring that data for me, right? So if I say that, okay, how is the sales doing in the last 2 quarters, right? It will bring all the data specific for me as a simple report. And you can see in the video towards the left, right? This is how it makes it simple, right? But just go back. The multi-cloud analytics. This is a requirement these days because data might not be stored in one place, right? It might be stored in multiple places. So the system that we're bringing to the table is called as BigQuery Omni, where we have the BigQuery Compute, which is going to be installed in some of the clouds. And you can still run the storage within the same cloud instance itself, right? So let's take an example that you have data in S3 bucket. You might not require to move or transfer the data of S3 bucket into BigQuery. But still, we can do the analysis in the familiarity of the same user interface, right? So how we are able to do that is based on the architecture that we have designed within BigQuery. So BigQuery, if you some of you would have heard, it basically decouples the storage and compute. Usually, what happens in the historical context, the data warehouse used to have the storage and compute being in one system, right? So the problem with that is you will not be able to scale up, right? So, for example, if the computation requirements are high, you might want to increase both compute and storage, right? That would be a pretty much difficult challenge. With BigQuery, you don't need to do that. So that means your storage could be anywhere. It could be BigQuery. It could be a data which is in MySQL, the data which can be in Bigtable, right? Or maybe in Google Sheets. But still, you'd be able to run your queries. So what we call as federated queries. The same thing happens even in this case, right? So for example, if your data is in S3 bucket and you still want to use the BigQuery interface for running your queries, you can also do that. The only thing which you might want to install in Amazon could be something like a BigQuery compute cluster to do those kind of activity, right? So this is what we have, and this is the USP that we carry to the solution, right? Multi-cloud analytics, currently we don't have too many systems which basically does that. If my data is in Google Cloud Storage, right, and if you have data warehouse outside that, nobody will be able to do that, right? But today, for us, we are able to do those kind of analysis. So your data might be anywhere, still will be able to access that. Bringing the data in real time or as a batch process is a USP, and we believe that most of the data warehouse you are looking for should have those capabilities, right? Or else it would be only just a batch process, and time to insight is the most important critical factor. That's an important USP that is required. The third one is in data warehouse modeling. So it's not building models outside, but building models within the data warehouse itself. That's a USP that we have within the same system. The fourth one is democratizing access to analytics. That means you can talk to the data warehouse directly rather than talking through an application in order to ask certain questions to the data warehouse. That's another USP that we have. Fifth one is on the data security and governance, which we are known for. So most of our data, and we are the number one in data governance and security. So data at rest and motion, even at the compute, these are all, even the computational activity which happens within our system, these are all secured computation, right? Which majority of the other service providers doesn't provide, right? In addition to that, if you want to redact certain information because you don't want even the analyst to see some of the information, the system can do that activity. And finally, the serverless warehouse, which ensures that the user doesn't need to depend on a lot of IT to run all their analytics and so on. This is what I had today, gentlemen. Back to you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohandas. That was actually a very informative session. So with this, we would now be moving on to the quiz. So let's gear up, everybody. A few instructions to guide you here. We would be running the quiz on menti.com, and the link with the login code has been shared in the chat window and is also displayed on your screen right now. I would request everyone to quickly log into menti.com and use the code 5825191 that is displayed on your screen right now. It's also put in the chat section and is also mentioned in the Q&A box. Kindly stay on your browser once you sign in, and please log in with the same email ID with which you have registered for today's session. You'll get 25 seconds to answer each question. Once again, I request all our participants and speakers for the day to please log into menti.com and enter the code that is displayed on your screen right now to join into the quiz. Once again, I request all the participants and the panelists to please join into menti.com and use the code 5825191 to join into the quiz. You all stand to win exciting Zozo Day vouchers by participating and winning in this quiz. We're just waiting for a few more participants to join the quiz and we'll begin shortly. Let us begin. As you all can see on the screen, the first question is displayed. You all have 25 seconds to answer each question. What is the system of data warehousing mostly used for? I request everyone to cast in their answers. Moving on to the next question. What does the access layer help users to do? 25 seconds to answer it. Moving on to the third question. What is computing in data warehouse often referred to as? Moving on to the last question. Data scrubbing is a process to dash. Congratulations, Mr. Tarun. Hope you earn more cloud miles during the session by asking relevant questions and also commenting. Thank you so much, sir. May I now invite Mr. Abdul Muneem, co-founder and cloud evangelist, Brio Technologies, to share his thoughts. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thanks. I would like to thank Rakesh for those wonderful insights he shared. They're very pertinent to what a modern data warehouse would look like. Thanks, Rakesh, for that. So I just have a small deck which I would like to present. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible now.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for the valuable time and being such a wonderful audience and giving us an opportunity to talk about what we do at Brio. Digital has been the main reason for disappearance of more than 50% companies who were in the list of Fortune 500 for the year 2000, and 90% of executives feel that their industries would be significantly impacted or moderately impacted with digital trends. So in next couple of minutes, I would like to talk about how we are working with our customers to explore these opportunities on leveraging data. So before I start, I would like to give a brief overview of what Brio is. Brio means energy and enthusiasm, and we are 100% cloud-focused company. We All we do is shift IT from being a support function to help make it as a business differentiator for our customers leveraging cloud technology. So we started in the year 2004. We are a team of 100 plus people right now. So we partnered with Google Cloud in the year 2008, 2009, and it's almost like over a decade we have been working with Google. And this partnership has been very pivotal for us in our growth. We're witnessing a significant growth, partnering with Google Cloud. And we want to take this same growth to our customers as well. We're based out of Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, and during these years we were fortunate enough to work with some of the marquee customers in India, both in terms of business productivity and cloud. So we have delivered more than 100 plus successful cloud projects for some of these customers. So talking about our offerings and services which are around Google, like around the cloud. So first thing is infrastructure modernization. So be it a simple lift and shift scenario, or migrating a simple application, or a business critical application like maybe SAP, we have all the tools and processes to help you get on Google Cloud, be it from on-prem or any other public cloud. Our customers are working, engineers are working, with our customers to modernize their applications. So we are working with them to truly develop, true cloud native applications without the fear of being vendor locked. We are helping our customers to speed up their development, delivery, and management of their code without compromising, the security or quality of the product. Mainly by enhancing their DevOps processes and CI/CD pipelines. So what it means is like we are helping them embrace modern concepts like serverless, containers, and microservices. When we talk about big data, our customers are able to unlock the business data and reimagine their businesses. With platforms like BigQuery, where which are truly serverless and fully managed, our customers are able to get real-time insights and drive quality decisions and accelerate their innovation in the business. And at the same time, overcoming the constraints of speed, scale, and cost. So for the business productivity, we have worked with thousands of customers, helping them change the way they collaborate among each other, among their teams, and get the work done. So when we consider a data migration or a data warehouse migration, it's a complex and a lengthy process. And we would recommend to stick to a framework which is proven and which has been used by hundreds of customers successfully, to migrate their database or start to get started with their data warehouses. So more or less, be it a migration from a legacy data warehouse to a modern data warehouse, or you are starting from the scratch, more or less the approach would remain same. And this framework has been divided into three phases. Like the first phase is like prepare and discover. So this phase is mostly to understand the use cases which your data is going to solve, identifying your workloads, and really making a point like whatever the migration effort which is going to be taken proves valuable for your organization. Either it's going to increase something for your organization positively, or it's going to reduce your TCO. So in this phase, a basic understanding is arrived at, because data warehouse is a thing where a lot of stakeholders are involved, like because data belongs to everyone, right from data analysts to the business decision makers. Everyone is involved. So this phase is very key to understand what value this change would bring to the whole organization. So basing on the inputs which we have in the first phase, we go on to take up the second phase, which is about assessing and planning. So it's mostly about prioritizing the use cases which have been identified during the prepare and discovery session, define what a real success would mean, arrive at cost, understanding the existing systems. So these are some typical tasks which happen in the second phase. So the third phase is very critical, where whatever has been discovered, prepared, planned is executed. So when we talk about migration, it's like either you can do a full migration or you can do a part migration. So double clicking into the second, third phase, which is a phase where we execute things. So these use cases have been we take the use cases, we prioritize these use cases, and these use cases go through certain steps. And this is a complete iterative approach. This is not like if we have the 7 steps in this phase, that all 7 has to be done in each and every iteration. So it all depends. Like there are 2 terms which we need to understand here. One is the full migration and one is offload. So when we are talking about offloading, we just mean like we are taking the data from the existing data warehouse and we are not touching the data pipelines and the ETL processes. And when we mean the full migration, we mean like we are migrating the existing data pipelines. So if in case you are new to Google Cloud, we go and set up your whole project, and the foundation is done where we set up your network policies, where we set up your IAM roles, we define who get access to what, which are very critical for any project on the cloud. And then they may be followed by migration of the schema and data. Maybe we have to tweak some queries which we are bringing to the system. And these steps follow, and this iteration goes on. So, talking about a typical migration journey, initially, if you happen to have a data warehouse, existing data warehouse, they are a catalog of data sources which you have, and the pipeline which will be there, pipelines which are pushing the data to your data warehouse, and there are some BI and data visualization tools which your users would be using currently. So when we get into the implementation or a migration phase, we will end up having two data warehouse. One is the legacy warehouse which you will be using, and the new data warehouse which you will be having. So depending on the options, whether you decide it's a full migration or it's just an offload, so those decisions would impact whether you would read the data directly from the data sources, or you are going to read the data from the existing data warehouse as such. So in this phase, your users would be using both the data warehouse simultaneously. And once everything is settled, everything is moved out, there will be a day when you make a switch to the whole system, and you will be on that given day you would be completely using your new data warehouse, modern data warehouse, what we call. So this is a typical journey which a data warehouse migration would look like. One thing is important, like when people think of moving to cloud, it's a big step. But going into the cloud is much bigger step. There are a lot of questions, complexities which needs to be answered. Like is it really valuable for me, for the organization to move to cloud? What are the security challenges? What are the best architectures? So this is a very critical phase for any organization, and we would recommend working along with a partner who can add value and save your time and money, not experimenting with the things, and who can come and deliver proven things to your organization and cut short your whole migration process from point A to point B. So working with us, the value add which we bring is we help with smooth migration of your workloads. We fast track the adoption of Google Cloud within your teams, because this is one challenge which we have seen among the teams where they're very good with certain one particular public cloud or any other on-premise technology, but Google Cloud can be new to them. So we work along with your teams hand in hand, and we see that the adoption is fast tracked. So their integration to third-party services, and most importantly, recommending your team what is possible, what is not possible upfront, with the ideal architectures which work excellently in Google Cloud. So with this, I would like to thank you, and we would like to meet with you all and your team to understand how your cloud journey is, and explore the possibilities on how Brio and Google Cloud can be a trusted partner in your digital transformation journey. So with this, I would like to thank everyone, and over to you, Raj.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a very informative and relevant session, and I'm sure today's businesses have can take benefit from this. So with this, let's move on to the most awaited knowledge sharing and interactive session, the panel discussion. This discussion is around the topic data warehouse modernization to meet business demands. And we have some very interesting names here. This session will be moderated by Mr. Sudipta Ghosh, Partner, Data Analytics Leader, PwC India. Our first panelist is Mr. Sunil Sarath, Senior Vice President and Global Head, Cloud and Digital Workplace Solutions, Microland Limited. Thank you, sir. Welcome. Following him, we have Mrinal Chakrabarti, Executive Vice President, Information Technology and Innovation, DTDC Express Limited. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Next on the panel is Mr. Tushar Vagal, Chief Information Officer, Larsen and Toubro Limited. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. We also have with us Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal, Chief Digital Officer, Ramco Systems Limited. Welcome, sir. We'll also be joined by Mr. Abdul Muneem, co-founder and cloud evangelist, Brio Technologies, in the panel. Welcome, sir. So with this, let us begin the panel discussion. Over to you, Mr. Ghosh.
Thank you very much. I think we have had a fairly informative session just now, and the topic which we all will be discussing will be about the modernization of the data warehouse. So whenever we talk about the word data warehouse, it kind of evokes a lot of memories because it is a term which has been in the circulation for the last 20-25 years since it was first popularized by Bill Inman and Ralph Kimball. And since then, this is one particular subject which has really been transformed significantly.
Mr. Ghosh, we are unable to hear you, sir.
Mr. Ghosh, we can't hear you. Munim, I'm available. We are audible, Munim?
Yeah. Everyone is audible. I think like we have some issue with Sudipta. So meanwhile, by the time he joins, I'm very curious, and Sunil or Mrinal can take this question. So I would like to understand what are your use cases.
Sorry, are you able to hear me?
I think
Yes. Shweta, we can hear you.
Oh, wonderful. Sorry about that. I think there was a bit of a network glitch. As I was saying that when we talk about the word data warehouse, it evokes different thoughts in all of us. And we are talking today about modernization, and that is for a reason. What we have seen is that at least in the last 1 year or so, there have been significant shifts in the way organizations are actually looking at the enterprise data. There has been a number of use cases which people are now using because of the fact that you are relying more on data for taking decisions, simply because you cannot rely on just your gut feel, because the past experience may not be a good indicator of what is going to happen in the future. So you need to be a little more data driven. Also, because of the touchless, contactless world which we are looking at, there is already an explosion of a lot of data that has significantly increased as well, because most of your processes are now getting digitized, or they have been accelerated. The process of digitization has significantly accelerated, I would say. So you now have more data, you have more need to take decisions, which is data driven. And that's the reason why you need to probably take a relook at how you are storing, organizing, managing, using the data, which is probably your most valuable asset in the organization. So that is the context which I wanted to set when we are talking about modernization of the data warehouse. So what I'll do is that I'll open the floor with the first question around the fact that what are some of the circumstances that has led business seeking modernization of the data warehouse in the recent years. So why is it that traditional data warehousing needs to be modernized or needs to be changed, and what are the business drivers which is prompting organizations to talk on this subject? So on that particular topic, I'll like to invite Mr. Mrinal Chakraborty to share his thoughts, and after that we'll invite Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal to share his thoughts on the same topic.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Google Cloud and Brio to organize the same. And I'm thankful to DNB for inviting us. Mr. Ghosh, nice query. A lot to tell, but in a nutshell, what I'd like to compare over here. Just pre-pandemic, we had a very siloed approach on data. Is it an operation data? It will remain in a particular sandbox, and we create some flag tables and then churn out data in Excel file, and then the jugaad on Excel file used to continue. Same with SAP, pull out the SAP data into SAP BI, and there was only 17 people who has the access because licenses were so expensive. But during this pandemic, when we are from DTDC, we're an Indian second largest courier distribution organization, and when we had to open up our 600 offices with 8,000 employees working and 11,500 franchisee covering pan-India, we felt that this way handling data will be very difficult. And if the data doesn't drive us, because if you recall, last year, 1st April, it was a really fool's day because we had zero revenue. 2020 1st April was a zero revenue. From zero revenue to bounce back to profitability once again in 9 months of time, you need data. You need data in people's hand so that they can decide. Because ground reality was totally different. Today a flight is running, tomorrow flight is not running. Today this national highway is on, tomorrow in Odisha, they will cut the road. So life was like that. It's a very precarious life. So what we did initially, that we felt very clearly that this is the classical way of data handling will not work out. So we spoken to Google Cloud, we spoken to multiple cloud provider, and then zeroed on Google, and then we created 3 data streams, one from finance, one for sales, and one for operation, to put into Google Cloud in a very raw format, and created a fact and dimension tables around it, and connected Tableau online on that. This way, I'm not exaggerating. Today we are running more than 102 plus dashboards, both for finance, sales, and operation. Starting from the chairman of the organization till the mid-level, around 200 odd people, they exactly know morning 7 o'clock what went right yesterday, more than so what went wrong, and as a guided factor, what is to be done today. Until unless you modernize the data in a better, I'm not very fussed about whether it is cloud or non-cloud, but until unless a new modern architecture gets in and you connect with the new age technologies, would be very difficult in a old style siloed way. I am the owner of the data, so you need to come to me. Today, data goes to the people. Data chases people. I think COVID has given this transformation. So this is in a nutshell, just to cover up how a small and medium enterprises can look data into in real time people's hand. Yes, definitely, since people are working from home, security is a big factor of the data. How secure your data? So those are different subjects altogether.
No, I think that is extremely valuable, Mr. Chakraborty, because what you mentioned was the need for having a very strong agility in terms of making sure that your business is ready in terms of what you are seeing, and how you mentioned that from zero revenue to something which is what is today, it required a huge transformational change. So I think that is clearly a big driver for us to remain very agile based on the changing business needs. And that could be one of the very critical reasons for us to modernize. So on that same vein, I would like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal to share your thoughts, please, on this subject.
Okay. Thank you, Sudipta. So I think I will go step by step, and I see at least 3 to 4 key reasons for business teams looking for modernization. I think first is the market dynamics have totally changed. And, you mentioned agility, certainly agility, speed is the important factor to sustain in the business, basic part. then the consumer, that is customers and employees, are becoming very hungry for experience. Whether it is UI, UX, or the keywords are no UI, no entry of the data, kind of stuff. Growth is another one, and competitiveness is another. Otherwise, I think one of the slides shown by Abdul was that how many companies have vanished in last so many years, and because they have, in my personal view, maybe they have not been competitive either in the product strategy or in their sales and marketing strategy using data and facts. So I think that's the one part for market dynamics part of it. I see second part more towards the maturity of the data sources have increased. Whether it is the volume of the data which we are talking, or the availability of the data. And earlier there was only transactional data. Now we do have a lot of unstructured data also available in our data sources in that part. Third part I'll see is that boardroom decision makings have changed. They're not no longer too much of interested in dashboards only. This is my personal view, and which I have observed in number of such meetings, that they look at decisions coming with a lot of data, facts, and inference from that data. No longer this month, this day, why this trend is happening, which is typically the forecasting part versus now prediction part. So I think these are the things which I see, things have done. And from a historical purpose, if you see, I think, somebody mentioned, Rakesh mentioned that it's been quite popular for last 20 years or so. And I have seen in my experience, when there was a telecom boom in 2003, 2004, and the telecom industry was increasing, I think that's maybe the first time the India IT fraternity saw volume and velocity of data. There were too much of volume and velocity which was getting collected from maybe 10 million subscribers. It went to 150 or 100 million subscribers across all the telcos. So I think that's again one of the dynamics which changed in the Indian industry from that perspective. And also, if you see, most of the companies, telecom, in my personal view, telecom might have been the key industry which helped in terms of promoting it. But over a period, most of the software product companies also started using and align with their product some or other data warehouse tool, analytics part, inferences from those data sources which were there for prediction part. And like I belong to an Ramco Systems Group, which is in asset management, HRP, payroll, aviation products. And we have over a period, on the same base, we have modernized and attached various different routines to modernize our application to meet the new demand of prediction and forecasting perspective wise. So I think that's what my thought is in terms of why there is a business seeking modernization in terms of data warehouse.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal. And I think you have mentioned a few important things, that you don't have data for the sake of data. You really want to use the data for getting a view of what is going to happen in the future, and that to do it in a way which adds value to the business. So in the same vein, I would probably like to kind of throw upon a different dimension, that, say, for example, if you are looking at a data warehouse, what in your opinion would be some of the must-haves which will be there? So I will invite Mr. Tushar Vagal. You have been working in the industry for a long time and probably a strong user of the data. So in your opinion, apart from, say, some of the basics like you need scalability, you need agility, you need business application, what are some of the additional things which from your perspective you think will be very critical for any data warehouse or any data store to have?
Okay, so there are two perspectives which are there. One perspective is from the data being tagged. So the most important thing for analysis is tagging of data. Now, the data as it exists, the past and the present, is it difficult to tag. So I would require a AI-based tagging of data, an engine which can tag data based on some rules which are set, and the exceptions I can modify, okay, and I can massage and get it done through. That's one part of the story. The second thing is, since we are into construction in buildings, we do a lot of IoT. Now, this IoT is there, it generates terabytes of data. Okay, I need a gateway. I need an IoT gateway for ingestion. Otherwise, this data warehouses will not do much work for me. These two things are very, very important. Besides this, there can be hundreds of plugins, APIs, dynamic cubes being generated. All these things are required. If I have these things, the data warehouse is much, much flexible, and I can do a lot of work, because the tagging is the most difficult thing. Okay. And I need to tag data as old as 10 years old. That's very important for me.
So very interesting. And in fact, you mentioned a very important aspect, which is the streaming nature of the data. You mentioned about the IoT sources and also the huge volume of data that entails in terms of managing it, Mr. Bagal. So in the same thing, if I can ask you from your experience, how do you think whether cloud-based technologies is probably addressing some of these questions, or you think that probably an on-premise solution will give you a better control? I know there is a lot of discussion around what can go to the cloud and what remains on-prem. We heard Mr. Chakraborty adopting a cloud-based approach in a very agile manner. So would like to understand from your perspective, Mr. Bagal, in terms of how do you think cloud can kind of address some of these must-haves that you just mentioned?
Okay. So basically, the IoT gateway is already on the cloud. We are already using the IoT gateway on Azure. The last few months, we just set up a new smart building, and it's working awesome for us. Besides that, I personally believe that the nature of data has changed. It's not only text. If it is text, I need OCR. I need voice. We have a lot of. We also have a toll free on the cloud. So all the calls being done are all recorded. I need to also analyze that. So there are nearly 5,000 customers, and at least I have 10 calls per customer per year. So that data is also getting generated. So all the voice calls. So this can be also used for compliance, for legal cases, for offering new discounts to customers, and all such things. So that also has to be analyzed. And of course, we have video. We do a lot of computer vision. Okay. We can't have watchmen everywhere. If I have a building which has a 10-story of parking lot, you can imagine I require at least 20 watchmen per shift. Okay, security guards per shift. I can't possibly have 100 security guards guarding my premises. Okay, so I need to do video analytics, and we got cameras out there, and whatever the exceptions are there are all recorded on the cloud. So the whole thing has changed, and it is just not possible for a data center to manage this. It is next to impossible. We need edge devices. The data has to go to a data warehouse, okay, on either Azure or AWS or Google. Well, because only they can manage web scale IT. I personally believe nobody else can manage it. Plus the cost of storing data. If I have to store data onto on-premise, it is very, very costly. I would say it is at least 25 times costlier than storing it onto a Google or AWS or Azure cloud, as opposed to storing on-premise. Because people still don't know the economics of storing on-premise. So that's my opinion.
No, that's great. And I think, there is one important takeaway which I took was the fact that, how do you do a constant monitoring of your operations almost on a real time or a near real time basis? The example which you gave about the monitoring of the parking spaces or the security cameras and all that. So I'll just take that thought a little forward and probably, ask Mr. Sunil that what are some of your thoughts in terms of helping organizations where they need more real-time access, more immediate access in terms of taking the decisions there and then. and how you have experienced it. I'm happy if you also take a few of the previous questions also to build up. So over to you, Mr. Sunil.
Yeah, so let me talk about the data management that we are seeing with our customers, specifically in cloud in general and in multi-cloud in particular, right? So what are they using it for, and how did it start, and what are the different waves? So let me talk about that. So we all know that usage of cloud in general and multi-cloud in particular is the order of the day, right? So it's not limited to data management, and data management is not an exception to this. So if you looked at a recent survey, roughly 80% of the respondents said that their organization is already doing some form of multi-cloud data management, right? So which means, or it's they're either doing multi-cloud data management or it's some sort of evaluation stage, right? So it's become very popular. So how did this start? So if you look at wave one, it all started with customers focusing on implementing a multi-cloud data management strategy primarily for business continuity, including disaster recovery and failure use cases. So customers were looking for a way to rationalize their retention data. They looked at what is being stored, how is it being stored and accessed. The end objective at that point in time was to control costs and ensure security and compliance. That's wave one. That's how it started. People started looking at cloud and leveraging cloud, and then multi-cloud, for data. The second wave, with all these latest and greatest data management tools that have come in, data warehousing tools, integration tools, analytics tools, and more importantly, cheaper object-based storage, right? So with all of this, cloud and multi-cloud has clearly emerged as an integral part of the new hybrid management strategy. It's about putting the right data on the right platform for the right storage, processing, or provisioning. Finally, the wave three, what we've seen, some of our customers are looking at digital transformation, which is one of our panelists talked about this. Renald talked about this. Digital transformation, businesses changing to digital businesses and adopting digital transformation. Businesses need to capture and leverage emerging data types and sources, especially heard Tushar talk about Internet of Things, right? Internet of Things, social media, customer channels, big data, web apps. All of this, I don't think with on-prem systems alone, one would have been able to handle it. So we've seen customers then go to cloud to take advantage of all these platforms that can handle the breadth of new data assets and use cases. I'll take a pause here, and then so we spoke about different reasons and use cases why in our experience our customers are adopting multi-cloud for data. Of course, there are challenges, being one of them, like one of our panelists spoke about. Data residency is another one, but I believe it's a topic for another session, I guess. So back to you, Sudhir.
Sure. No, thank you. I think this was fairly comprehensive, Sunil. So I will come back to Mrinal, on that specific question that you are in a sector or in an industry where there are a lot of touch points where you are capturing the data about the movement of goods from point A to B, and there are multiple points of failures at each of these points, which requires somebody to collect the data, understand where a particular item is, and also communicate back to the consumers or customers, right? So if you can share some thoughts on whether you have been able to do this, or what are some of the other benefits which you can see, which you have been able to do from transitioning more to a new way of using the data or storing the data. And also, whilst you're talking about some of the benefits, if you can also touch upon some of the challenges which you have faced, even while in the process of modernizing, that will be great.
Excellent. So I think data is new oil, and all these things are become very cliched. Okay, this is now more than we CIO speaks about. And as you rightly said that, if I typically say in our industry, a single shipment what we carry around pre-COVID, we used to carry around 7 lakh shipments per day. Currently, we are carrying around 500,000 shipments per day. Every shipment has as a minimum 8 touch point, from pickup to bringing to my office, then taking to the hub, then receiving hub, then delivery branch, and ultimately Sudipta at your home. We're delivering it. This end-to-end from pickup till delivery, picking up from the PwC office at Calcutta and delivering Sudipta your house at a laptop, it's an 8 touch point, and this entirely is mobile driven. Okay, we do the pickup with a simple mobile device. We deliver at your house maybe at Bangalore with a mobile device. Now this 8 touch point, when we plot and when we multiply this plotting, the more we deliver to your house, I exactly know which franchisee, which date I'll deliver, what is the duration time of your delivery. Okay, had I have a bad experience with you? So what was this during this pandemic? All these antennas got opened. Okay, and all these ideas got opened. And data warehouse exactly is helping us. Contrary to Mr. Agarwal, what he said, because ERP doesn't do all this. ERP cannot remember even all this. ERP can give a state unquote, quote unquote, once flag end of reports. But once you want to put analytic into that, you want to make some predictions, you want to make it a preempt on the analytics. Today's the world is how to see the tomorrow, how better way I can deliver to Sudipta. Today data gives us that power. So this rationalizing of the data, structuring of this data is becoming very, very important. And the geo coordinates, the GIS coordinates, the GPS feed what I'm getting from my vehicle, it becomes an ocean of data to find out what is the best way to deliver, best way to handle the customer. And if you're an irate customer, even how to give you a better service just by giving you a call, hey Sharipta, are you at home? So this is a different game altogether, which classical ERP never gives. They never even can thought of. Probably the new age technology player like Google, AWS, or new age cloud providers and new age technology like machine learning and AI would be able to rule the world for taking it forward and making it life better. Yes, it's not a very smooth journey. It has a lot of. It was a Himalayan task. So what we did, like a typical WBS structure, we have broken a huge mountain into smaller pieces, and we slowly cover up. There are a lot of failures, a lot of hand got bruised by this process. But the courage what we got from the management was, I'm very thankful to the DTDC management, though it's not a very typical IT-enabled management, but I'm really thankful to them, saying that they really hold the hand, get up and run again. And today the benefits they are getting. The entire organization now got transformed into a mobile-driven organization. From chairman till these 200 top folks can see the entire business through their phone. I think data warehousing and analytics had played a big role. I'm looking forward to Google and AWS of the world 2021 to transform it further.
Great. No, I think that's very inspirational, Mrinal, that the way you have articulated the entire thought process. And I will probably invite Mr. Sanjeev Agarwal to kind of also touch base on this topic in terms of what are some of the benefits and also some of the challenges which you have seen in this space.
Mr. Sanjeev, you are on mute.
Okay, sorry for that. I realized I was on mute. So I will first answer, thank you, Sudipta. I will first answer Mrinal's concern. And Mrinal, you touched on both the points. You said ERP cannot provide, and then you said maybe modern age stuffs are providing it. But
sorry, sir, if I hurt you.
Sorry?
No, sorry, sir, if I hurt the sentiment.
No. It's nothing to hurt. We are debating and discussing. There are different perspectives for everything. Maybe somewhere we are knowledgeable, somewhere you are knowledgeable, and that's where we need to exchange and see. What we feel strongly is that discrete information into different pockets is not going to give you the real ROI or real benefit. A consolidated view, a integrated view will help, and that's where all the software providers are going towards it. They are looking at, how do we help the customer in an integrated manner. Backend, they may use Google Cloud, they may use Amazon Cloud or Azure Cloud, or IBM Watson API skills, etc., etc. It's their internal architecture. However, from a customer's perspective, is that how they can provide this benefit of improving productivity. Like in our boardroom, and our CEO keeps saying, in future, data will come from thin airs. There won't be any UI. Okay, this is the visionary statements, and that's where the vision is, that how can I use the existing data using, in our view, analytics, AI, prediction, and predict where your guy is going to go today, what would be his coordinates are, so that the data entry and it reduces, accuracy increases. This all will lead into operational efficiency, which will help you in bottom line. Secondly, is that if you are, like you are saying, that this will increase your customer experience also. If you're not asking too many things to the customer, your guy is not entering, all that will, and accuracy is there, so maybe growth and profitability also will increase. And that's I think the key benefits which we see is prediction engines today, low UI, low data entry, with the help of all these tools. And when I'm saying it's not on ERP, HRP, or any other front end business, like I worked in insurance industries also a lot. What happens at the agent part? How can agent create a trust with the seller or with the buyer? Today, insurance industry, there is a lot of trust issue which happens. When the selling happens, people keep saying, most of the industry, but insurance industry has been, a little bit concerned about, and government has been also focusing on that. So trust part has been a little missing. So how can these tools help in terms of trusting? Where self-service, self-service or can help in terms of giving a full end-to-end, a non-assisted journey to the end user. And I see these are the benefits. And certainly now with the social media coming in, unstructured data coming in, web crawling data coming in, digital footprints of all of us. Like today, I don't know how many Googles would have got so many of our footprints, what we are doing, analyzing which website we are going, etc., etc. Those could also be the data which I think is being currently looked at. And these are the benefits which I personally see are going to be there in the future. And most of the software industry products have to adopt to it. Otherwise, they will vanish like other products have vanished in the past. So that's what I see are the key benefit. And certainly the companies will definitely see higher profitability and higher bottom line. Now, how do we measure it is sometimes a challenge. And I think consulting firms like PwC, etc. can, or any of the other consulting firms can really help. How do we measure some of these things? And I think that's the most difficult part, that if you do A, what is the direct correlation and a benefit to B, etc. So I think that's one which has to be matured enough. And again, it will help with data analysis, prediction part of it. So that's, I think, the key benefit part which I see. I think hurdles part, whatever I've been all different type of roles. I have been a service provider and I have been CIO, etc. And I see is that the business IT alignment is the key part. Business still have, companies do have internal office politics. This data is mine, I will own. Why should I share with anyone? If data is with me, people will come to me. If data is everywhere, nobody will come to me. I will lose my, importance, etc., etc. I think that's the one is the key hurdle, and which is very important in today, because the business guys knows the knowledge. In my personal view, business guys knows the knowledge and inference of that data. Maybe the technology companies, which are most of us are technologists, I'm assuming. Maybe Sudipto would be more of business and technology guy, but most of us I see as a technology guys. We only understand technology. So many times we don't understand the business part of it, and the inferences of that data, which the business teams have. So I think that's extremely important, that this collaboration of the system analyst or data scientist along with the business teams, work really hand in hand to enable this piece. Means other than the standard thing, you need to have a data governance. The meanings of the data in all the different discrete tools should be same. Otherwise, there is a mismatch in part. And also, how do we continuously improve our hypothesis, because a lot of these hypotheses, I think somebody did mention, are based on guts, previous experience, and then the data was not so frequently used. So how do we continuously improve our hypothesis so that the tool become mature and start predicting much and much more part of it. Sorry, Sudipto, I took a little bit more time, but I thought...
Absolutely. I think very engaging conversation. And I was saying that, to myself, that probably we could have spoken on this subject for a little more time, but I think we are a little constrained on time here. And it's a very, very interesting, insightful conversation. But what I'll do now is that kind of take a bit of a pause and see if there are any questions from the audience. And we will probably have a couple of minutes to address any one or two questions which people have right now at this point in time.
Sir, so we actually haven't. We'll address the questions directly to the participants. We'll go on with the discussion and conclude it then.
Yeah, so maybe you can do that because, we can then wrap it up. But otherwise, I think this is a great conversation, and I think we will just take a pause and then you can do the Q&A with the audience, because we want to just cover that bit also.
Sure, sir, sure. So we'll take up the questions with the respective audience individually. And first, let me thank you, sir, for summarizing the entire panel discussion. And there were truly some amazing takeaways from this session today. So with this, we bring today's virtual conference to a close. Today's session wouldn't have been a success without the active participation of all our esteemed speakers, panelists, and delegates. And I would like to thank each and every one of you for taking out the time to be a part of this virtual conference today. A special thanks to Google Cloud and Brio Technologies for their support to this initiative, without whom this conference wouldn't have been possible. As you can see on your screen, to know more about Brio's Cloud Assessment Workshop, contact Brio team at the email ID displayed on the screen. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Agarwal.
Thank you, Vimal. We'll catch up again sometime.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Good day.
Good day.
Thanks, Vimal sir. Thanks, Mr. Sanjeev. Thanks, Tushar. Yeah. Thanks for all your wonderful insight. It was a pleasure hearing you all. Thanks.
Bye.
And thanks, Sunil.